Rhinestoners, welcome back. This is episode 25 of Rhinestoned.
Rhinestone.
Rhinestoned. We need to get like maybe some rhinestone gloves or something so we can
I
rhinestone.
really should put an effect on the video when we do.
Yeah, why am I want to sparkle. I mean, I'm trying to sparkle a little bit with my earrings today, but I
I do
want to
like
sparkle.
do like your earrings.
Well, so I first of all I just want to say Rhinestoners. I don't know if I've ever been so happy that it's the weekend. It's been one of those weeks. I don't know. I think like last week,
Sure
there
has.
was so much excitement with Taylor Swift's wedding and all of that. And now I feel like this week it's like, I don't know. It's
I
just been one of
know.
those like work's been busy and, I'm happy it's Friday. But we did get some celebrity news this week. And it is sort of ironic in that I would actually say it is somewhat tied to the Taylor Swift wedding in that Rhinestoners, I feel like I have let everyone down for having a thought and not articulating it with everyone, Like
Oh my God,
sometimes
weeks ago, right?
sometimes I have a thought and then I'm just like, oh, I should do a post or we should say something. And
Yep.
this was one of those times where whether or not everyone is going to believe me, I just want to say that I saw the pictures, Jack Antonoff heading to Taylor Swift's wedding, and my immediate thought was they had broken up.
Really?
Immediate,
Really?
immediate thought.
Because they're
Because
always together when they're in
well,
public.
and not just that, like to not be here's the thing. Like, first of all, I have now that I've like been thinking back on it, he also has been alone at like a couple of award shows recently too, if I remember. Like I think there was a recent award show where she was not there.
Yep.
Okay. But at
Yep.
that time, I don't remember what it was. I think she was either like promoting something or they had kind of done a good job publicly of floating where she was. So it was kind of clear that like she was doing something else. And so I just dismissed it. But when I saw the photo of him heading to Tisa's wedding alone, to me, that was like, that's not something that you go alone
Mm-mm.
to. Okay. I
Mm-mm.
mean, this isn't like, you
No.
know,
A wedding
someone he
is like
worked
a
with at the
couple's
beginning of
event.
his career and now she's getting married or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, there's just really no reason if everything was cool, like in a normal circumstance. So I had an immediate, like, they're done. This is like, if she's not by his side right now, something is up. And this week we got the confirmation they're separated.
Which
Dunzo.
is always so like the separation before the divorce. It's like, okay, I don't know why it always has to be the separation. We
Why are
know you
we
guys are
announcing the
done.
separation?
You're
I don't under.
done.
Are we
Own
announcing it
it.
because someone, Margaret, wants to be able to continue to, do whatever she wants with her co-star right now? Because have you seen those photos of her and this
Who's
guy?
her co-star? We don't know.
Um, we
Nameless.
should really be more informed about these things. Sorry, Rhinestoners. Now
I
I'm
know,
off the
I know.
roll.
We should really know who
I
Margaret
mean,
Qualley's current C-list
but you
co-star.
know what? I think, we very rarely talk about the pod and why we're here and all of that, right? So I think I will just say, if you all haven't figured it out by now, we are not here to be meticulous, okay? Like,
No,
we don't
that's not who
expect
you
you to
mean.
keep all these people's names and faces and whatever, like, stored. Do we love celebrities? Yes, and all of their mess. But, like, if I was keeping track of every single one of these little, like, story within a story, I'd
There'd
lose
be
my
no time.
mind.
There'd be no time. I also think too,
I
I
am
follow.
looking though because he was vaguely familiar looking.
Hey, can you also look up the age difference between Margaret Qualley and
Drew
Jack
Drew
Antonoff?
Drew Starkey,
Oh, that does sound familiar now that you say that, though.
right?
Drew
So
Starkey.
they have basically they are filming something right now,
Oh, yeah, I've seen him and stuff. Okay, he's
right?
been
Yes, I've seen
in.
him too. So
Oh, he's so young. God,
they have
he's.
been like spending time together, which like I think you could say maybe initially, because they're co-stars, and then there are these photos that came out recently of them hanging out in the pool, which
Hmm.
again, is that co-star behavior? I don't know.
Okay, so okay,
Could
and I'm
be.
just doing a quick just because I haven't. So Margaret's 31 and he's 42. There's no age gap. I mean,
Oh,
they're both
with
full
Jack, but
adults.
then
Yeah.
but then she is closer in age to this guy, this new
She
guy,
is.
right?
That is fair. She's closer in age to the co-star, but as far as when they met and they've only been together for 4 years, which means she was like 27 and he was in his late 30s. That's like totally normal. I didn't know. A part of me did think maybe Margaret was like 21 and he was like, I don't know, but that's not the case. Anyway,
Yeah.
I want to say this. This is my read. I was listening to one of my podcasts, Good Noticings, a couple of weeks ago. I'll
Hmm.
put in when I load this to Spotify, it has an option to kind of mention. I'll definitely put a link in there so everyone can find them. But they had said something before they were Good Noticings, they were celebrity memoir podcasts. And so sometimes when a really good celebrity memoir comes out, they do still cover it. They covered Fame Sick by Lena Dunham,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And one of them, uh, Claire, had a really good read. I think it was Claire, it might have been Ashley now that I say that. Sorry, Ashley. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But her read weeks ago on the whole Jack Antonoff and Margaret Qualley thing that was nested in this book was what I
Hmm.
wanted to bring up. And what she
Yes.
said was basically that what Lena Dunham articulated in this book with her relationship with Jack Antonoff and him cheating on her with Lord, or allegedly cheating on her with Lord,
Yeah.
whatever, was that she was a very outside girl. Lena Dunham is a very outside girl.
Yeah.
She lives loudly, loves loudly. She's become more private in the last couple of years, but
Yeah.
certainly back in the Jack Antonoff days, she was very public. And that what the read of Good Noticings was is that that's why he loves Margaret because she's down to clown. She's down to play the role of the more in the back seat. I'll be in your music
Mm.
video. I'll be your muse. I'm not going to put us on blast. I'm not going to potentially write a memoir. And the read of them, now that this has come out that they've gotten a divorce, was like, that Margaret started to hear those things, that
Yeah.
she started to hear that people, like even this little celebrity memoir podcast, are saying, out in the world, like, yeah, Margaret, she's a fall in line girl. She's a
Mm.
submissive girl. She's going to rock with Jack and do whatever he wants to do, girl. And that she started to get that feedback back to her and was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm my own person. I am not that girl. I am a Lena Dunham potentially. Like I'm gonna write a great, and I don't know any of this, but
That
like
is so
that was
funny.
their assessment. And I do think that there's something very interesting about that is like she has been his muse.
Yeah.
Are you obviously she's done with that. She doesn't want to be his muse anymore. I don't know exactly what she's going to do. I guess be a very serious actress. I don't really watch her and stuff though.
Oh, I do. See, I
Do you
I
like
do.
her? Is she good?
Oh yeah, like I loved her in Maid.
Well, there you
Yeah.
go. Then she has a great, then
I
I
find her
trust your
interesting to watch.
opinion.
Like she's interesting to watch for the same reason her mother is interesting to watch. I think they kind of have the similar quality.
Oh, okay. I think the only thing I've seen her in is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She was
Yeah.
pussy. Okay.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
admire
I
that
think that's
role.
an interesting theory. I don't think that is my read or theory. I see where people would come up with that. I feel, first of all, she's never really struck me as someone who is like actively tapped into like what people are saying, like at least based on like some interviews.
I
And I
agree.
could be wrong about that.
No, I agree.
Um, a lot of people have been talking about like there was an aura mismatch. Like that's what I've been seeing on the
Hmm.
socials. It's just like make sure that your auras are aligned because,
Hmm.
she's so whatever and he's, not. I think it's a little bit of that. I think that like I think uh, with someone like Margaret Qualley, and like it's interesting because I feel like in some ways you and I have experienced like small pieces of this sometimes, or but like it can be hard to be a certain type of woman, especially like when you're dating, right? And I think that like with her, she's obviously like, she's stunning. I think she has a brain from what I've been able to like pick up
Yes.
on over the years. And then
Yeah.
she does seem to have this like personality that people respond to.
An
I think even
effervescence.
even the fact that like she keeps popping up with like all these brand deals that she
Sure.
keeps getting and things like that. Like
Probably
I think
easy to
she's
work
very
with.
marketable. Um, and I feel like sometimes it's almost like it's the wrong perception is often given that it's like easy for women like that to date, and it's usually not, right? I think that like there's this like idea that like, oh, she just must be like swatting guys off and all of that, right? And if I had to guess, it's probably not her experience. And that's why she ended up with someone like Jack Antonoff in the first place. And so like that's more of my theory is like I think what happens is like then you almost do get more drawn to these very like intellectual type men, right? Who often don't match you in aura or energy or effervescence or anything like that, right? But they have something to give you in that sense, right? And I think like with Jack Antonoff, she was probably like very attracted to the things that make him successful, right? Which is not
100%.
his personality or his presence or any of those
No,
things, right?
no.
It's his musical genius, it's his, da 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 da, right? So I think she got sucked in by all of that. And what happens is like as a relationship like that progresses, it isn't going to be sustainable because they are two very different types of people, right? And like there's probably resentment brewing on both of their sides for those realities, right? Like she probably is like, I'm going to continue to do all of these things. And he's like, I wish you wouldn't, or like, I
I
wish you could just be
also,
here and be my muse, or I wish you could be here and be at this wedding next to me at Taylor Swift, or I wish you could be with me at this award show, all these places that like he doesn't really want to go alone. Right. And she's like,
well,
I've got
yeah,
better things to do. I don't know. This is like, but that is more of my theory of like what has happened. I think there was probably this initial connection, but it's not sustainable.
I also think 100% plus one to everything you said. Agree. And then, do you know what it's probably like to live with Jack Antonoff?
Well, to your point, that was one of the things I saw that like who knows if that came from her camp for real, but one of the like the reasons that came out was that he's very difficult to live with. And it's like
We've
no
seen,
no shit.
and the only reason I say that is like I've seen David Foster go through four wives, and then I watched the documentary. It's like you can't, the expectation that you would live with a man who is so successful in his field, who is so regarded, who so many people will just open doors for David Foster because he's Dave. It's kind of like I you couldn't. I just couldn't imagine that Catherine is able to tell David Foster anything.
Yeah.
So
No,
I
I
would
know.
imagine that's similar to Jack. I'm not saying that he's an asshole. I'm just saying like I'm
And
Jack
well, and even to
Antonoff.
your point, maybe like later in life they would have made more sense, right? Like Catherine
Right.
McPhee reached a point where she was like, I don't
You're
care.
he's at
I
his
just want to have a baby and like be financially taken care of. I really don't care. With someone who understands me and isn't gonna fuck with my career.
right.
I literally think that was it. She was like,
Yeah.
these are my check, check, check.
Check, check, check.
So
Yeah.
maybe if you had given it another like 10 years, it would have worked. But like,
Sure. Sure.
well, and even like
Yeah, 31 and
whether
51.
we believe everything that's happening with Taylor and Travis is true, it is sort of a funny juxtaposition in that like, do you think Margaret's looking at that and thinking like, oh, that's what my marriage is like? No. Because like to my point, Taylor and Travis are aura matched, right? So like, why would she? I'm sure she was like,
So many people, like I
she
will
probably
say,
sped
okay,
up the separation once they got the wedding invite. She was like, "There's no way I'm going to that wedding."
this is the thing. This is the thing. To your point about the aura match, I will say, and we didn't necessarily touch on this last week, and shame on us, but like the Adam Sandler of it all, the aura match of it all. This is the guy that stands up and like cracks a can over his head and chugs it. Like if we're to believe that Taylor Swift is in love with this man, that this is the love of her life, that that's what we believe, then it makes all of the sense to me that Adam Sandler officiated the wedding because he's like, it would be so freaking cool. Wedding
It
Crashers is
was
my favorite movie.
Adam
You
Sandler.
know what I mean? Like he's probably just like of course if it's at MSG, like he's a big football guy, like maybe he wanted it at MSG and she loves him so much that she was like, my baby wants it at MSG. I'm gonna give my baby what he wants. Like to your point, they are both fame sick puppies. That's like
Yeah,
another thing too. Sorry, but like they both want it just this. They are Harry and Meghan in that way. They
totally.
both want it, whatever it is, and they want it to the same
Yes,
degree.
100%.
which
Well, I mean,
God bless.
yeah, this it just again, it reminds me it's like Mandy Moore and Ryan Adams. Okay?
Oh, there
That's
you
it's like
go.
this is 100% what this is. Like
Oh my
it's
God, she
I
had to go through
guarantee
it.
you, give it a couple years, it's gonna come out that he was like emotionally abusive
Oh, Nicole.
and has some vice that we're not aware of or something
Of,
like that. And then
of
give it
course.
2 more years and she'll be with someone else and they'll have like 3 kids. So that's what I
You know
think is
what's really
happening. But that's
interesting
what
to
I'm
me?
saying. Like there's a precedent for these types of relationships and they don't work. Like beautiful effervescent women need to stop marrying like these moody artists and
Yeah,
thinking that like it's
it's
gonna
not.
go well. Like
No.
they are fighting demons that you will never ever be able to, yeah, just move it on.
And the way that they're gonna fight those demons is within the vagina of an 18-year-old ingenue. So like also just like know that. They're gonna slay those demons with or without you.
Marilyn Manson. On to
Sorry.
the next.
On video. On the music video.
I still think it's
Blatant.
so crazy how we just
That
continue
was
to
so
sweep
weird.
over Marilyn Manson
We
as
really
like
do. We just
it's just
glaze that.
wild to me the stuff that we know
That
and we
is
just don't talk
crazy.
about it
I
ever.
know. And we're
I
talking about
never see
Michael
people
Jackson
talking about it.
still.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Like it never comes up and I'm just like if you really look into some of the things that have been reported that firsthand accounts
Evan is out here trying to tell
stories from
y'all.
years ago like how is that man walking free?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't understand. I actually think like I
Wasn't
don't
he
know.
on like the not the Super Bowl, but wasn't he on like a major, he showed up a couple of years ago somewhere very, very,
Yeah,
oh,
no,
maybe it
he
was with
tried.
Kanye West. Never
No,
mind.
like if I remember correctly, he tried to kind of come back a
He
few
did.
years ago, and that's
He
what
did.
resurfaced all of these
Yes.
horrible things again because people were like, "No, sit
We're
down.
good.
You are a crazy, dark, violent person." Yeah. Wow.
That is crazy though. That is some shit. Okay.
It's
Anyway.
just, you know. Well,
Well,
anyways, Margaret, we're happy that you got out, and I
Margaret,
actually
here's the
don't
good
see,
news.
I
Your
don't
face card
see.
kills.
Yeah,
I think you're fine.
she'll be fine. I actually don't see Jack Antonoff like having a fling again anytime soon, but who knows, you know, maybe there's already someone that he's grooming. Okay, let's move into Bravo because we are in that time of year where and you know, Rhinestoners not to offend. Maybe some of you really, you know, these are your shows, right? But I tend to think of the summertime
God.
as like the down period, right?
Oh, and has it been?
And it's just, you know, it's not our top tiers really that are currently airing. And you know, even to that point, I was sort of excited this week because Real Housewives of Orange County was coming back. And you know, I know Real Housewives of Orange County, it has been very divisive over the years. I get it. And even last year, I mean, look, it hasn't been great. They've had a lot of issues with like racism and, you know, trying to incorporate diversity into the cast and it going very, very wrong.
Yeah.
The headline for this season was that they were going to bring back Vicky, which like I'm not like a huge Vicky fan. I respect her for
Same, starting.
I do think we have to acknowledge that a lot of why Housewives is the way it is today is because of Vicky Gunvalson. Like
She
I
is in the
do think we
same
need to give her
category
that
as
credit.
Sheena. She
Yeah.
she and Sheena, people like them. They're trailblazers. You got to give them their bravo
A
kudos.
100%. I do think that Vicky was like a roadmap for other, and even in some ways, like kind of the more serious, you know, in the sense of like
Oh,
having a robust career and then also
yes.
acting a fool, you know?
She was a businesswoman.
Yes,
She
and
was.
still is.
That's
And
what I
yeah,
used to like about the Housewives, though. To
same.
go to what we always say is that it wasn't some, my husband has practices and I come. They were bosses. Go on.
Yeah, there was more of like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's too bad.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
thought, okay, you know, I'll watch. She's back,
Tell
right?
me everything.
And look, she is living well. We
Good.
actually open, Vicky is basically bought property in Mexico and is like spending a lot of time there trying to get her residency. We open, Shannon's come to visit her. So it's just like first seeing them on the beach in Mexico. Her having to stay
Really?
behind because she's waiting to get her residency card. So for the first big party of the season, which Heather Dubrow hosts, it's like on the fence whether Vicky will make it, and then she does in the end. But Rhinestoners, I'm sad to say that like
Cool.
I think I got 40 minutes in and I stopped watching. It's
Not
just
good for the first episode. It's
I
not a good
don't know.
sign.
I feel like for a first episode we're supposed to be like I know it's always set up and I will acknowledge it's not like all the first episodes are always so great, right? Like we all know as Bravo fans, you have to give it time to build. You have to, we're checking back in. You have to kind of give some room for, the drama to unfold, right? But that being said, they're just all still hung up on like so many of the same things that I at this point am just so exhausted of hearing about, okay? And then there's other things happening that we just sort of like gloss over. Like there's this new woman, Jen, who's been on the show for like the last 3 or 4 seasons,
Oh, right.
say
Right. Yeah.
her
Okay.
son is out here like getting
Oh,
tickets
yeah.
for driving 105, or I just saw that she had to apologize because he's burned down part of their community or something, okay? And like we're just like tossing that out in a casual, cocktail kiki, with Emily and moving on, and it's just like it's just very hard to orient yourself in like what you're supposed to be focused on, what you're supposed to care about. The Trace Amigas are still not Trace Amigaing, and that's just also like how many more times are we going to go through this storyline?
Do we
So I
care?
I don't know, Rhinestoners. I'm going to give it one more chance next week, but I just couldn't even finish the
If it
episode.
picks up though, let me know because the only reason I do like a Heather Dubrow moment.
I love a Heather Dubrow, but even with
But
her, I'm
even if
like, there's
that,
nothing new there. And
I
trust me,
know,
Heather is one of my faves, right? But
no,
like watching her, it's just like, okay, it's Heather throwing another party.
I know, I know,
Awesome.
I know,
Like
I
here we
know.
go. Like
We need
fantastic.
something.
There's just, and like all of her kids have moved out. The one new thing we got with Heather is she's moved her mother, well, I don't know if she has moved, but her mother has moved to the West Coast finally
Okay,
so that she can take care of her.
okay.
And that was a riot because
Yeah, because
she
her mom is a
very
riot.
rarely appears on the show.
It
She
explains
point
a lot.
blank was asking her if she regrets not moving to the West Coast to be closer to her grandchildren. And, because now they've grown up and they're gone. And her mom's just like, no,
Oh my God.
I don't. She's
Oh
like,
my
you were busy, Heather. So I will be watching, I think, just to see more of Heather's mom because she's a
That's
riot.
see, that's what I'm saying. That's the one you get. Yeah, you get Heather, but that's then Heather should get a spinoff at this point.
I'll let you
Sorry.
know. It might be worth it for Heather Dubrow's mom and seeing her in the West Coast. She had like some, I can't remember what it was too. She had some funny line about like, Heather was like, are you happy to be in LA or something? And she was like, God created LA, but he lives in New York. So she's thrilled. Okay. Absolutely thrilled to be living on the West Coast. Um,
I'm gonna send you this TikTok of this guy, of this girl who did like a. Did you see the guy who went on Fox News talking about he talked to Mitch McConnell for 17 minutes?
no.
Did you see that? So she did like a spoof on that, and she's like, just got off the phone with Mitch McConnell. He said wherever he is, it's really hot and that people are screaming the whole time. He wishes the screaming would go down. Like that shit's funny. People are
That
really
is
out here on TikTok just coming up with stuff.
that is
Um, all right. So,
so
so
we are
the city.
winding down in the city. Yes.
Okay, I hate this
And
show.
it
I
really has
hate it.
gotten I'm sorry, like I know that a lot of people aren't going to agree with me, but I think there is more interesting things happening on In the City. I think I said this last week than there is in Summer House. And I understand that Summer House this season was very interesting for people, but I think we all need to remember that the only reason that Summer House was interesting was because of the Amanda and Wes scandal and us knowing that that had already happened and
Would
us
have been a
being able
complete flop.
if you had watched if we all went back and just removed that fact from our brains and watched this Summer House season again, you would be bored out of your mind because you wouldn't be
Plus
thinking
one.
anything was happening in those interactions, and those interactions aren't interesting in
No,
and of themselves. It's
no.
interesting once you realize what was really going on. So
Yeah.
to me, this past season was a yawn.
Mhm.
And I also feel like sometimes my issue with Summer House is like, obviously the point of the show is like to party and have fun and all of that, but then they do try and get us to like care about everyone more deeply.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then the work towards that is very limited because of the format of the show, right? So that for me sometimes makes it hard to connect when we do go a little bit deeper on like one of the cast's like struggles, or like something that, like, I would say in terms of personal stuff, this past season Mia's story is probably the only one that I kind of connected with in terms of losing her parents, her mom, dealing with all of that. And it was because they talked about it on multiple episodes, right? Like we went and saw the medium, and so I did feel invested in that, but I really struggled with, I think, some of the others. In the City is giving us breathing room to get invested, I think, into these couples, into each of their stories, who's friends, who's not. And for me, that is allowing for something that Bravo, I think, has struggled with a lot lately, which is we are lacking in multiple storylines happening at once.
Yeah. And wait,
So much
multiple
of our
authentic
and we'll talk
storylines.
about this in the Valley because the Valley is a one storyline season. Let's be clear. Once again, we
Yes.
have one storyline. Okay.
Yes.
In
Yes.
the City is actually providing multiple. This is what we
Yes.
want from our
Yes.
Bravo shows. Okay.
Absolutely.
We are edumacated. We can
Yes.
handle it. Give
Yes.
us lots of
Oh
things
my God.
layered on top of
That,
each other. Okay. That's what we need. That's what gives the drama. That's what gives the tension is like, you have a scene and you've got 10 different things happening, being said, not spoken. So I just want to say props to the In City cast. We have been definitely critical at the beginning, but where we have landed is a return to some of what I love about Bravo.
and I want to build. Okay, wait, because I'm jumping ahead because I'm pretty sure this. And you know what? The Kyle cheating stuff happened this episode, right?
Um, yes, no.
Them talking about
In terms of them stirring up that there's been like,
multiple cheats.
and Lindsay said we just don't talk about it. Yes,
Okay.
that was how it sort of ended when they were at the dinner table
And I
and
think we're going to
Megan.
build on that. But I know that was at the very end. That's why I brought it up because sometimes I'm like, wait, was that for a preview? Was that at the very end? I'm a little when I'm watching these things. But anyway, so why I bring that up. Last week I was talking about the Lindsay and Danielle of it all and
Yeah.
how at the end of the day, and in that moment, it just solidified everything that I said last week, right? Where Lindsay looks at her and she goes, Danielle, Danielle, right? And Danielle is like, yes, Lindsay. Like, yeah, it's like, it's like Lindsay and Danielle know, they know at the end of the day, in order for this to work, they are going, I think, to have to go hands in a bit. And I'm sorry, does that change my opinion of the Amanda and Wes situation? No, it doesn't. Have we always thought that Kyle was a horrible husband? Yes. Have you and I been saying that for weeks? Every time we talk about Kyle winning, we always qualify it by saying
Totally.
he's still a horrible husband. So I'm not
100%.
I'm not saying that I'm shocked by that, but I will say that definitely changed a little bit of my opinion on Kyle. Just to hear Lindsay because Lindsay rides for Kyle, you
Yeah,
know? But to
totally.
hear her say so matter of factly, like, we have stood by and watched this man cheat on her for years, I was like,
I
ugh.
mean, but to your point, before even that, I could not believe that we were watching the same scene play out again in a different way with his whole announcing that he had now secured
Oh, I
all
know.
of
We
these
watched
three.
that on Summer House.
Lindsay actually said not again
We can't
because
do that
because
again.
now it was a progression of what happened last time. The first time it
Right.
was about him getting a manager. Now it's about, and we're doing the exact same thing again. It's the same, like, that's where I'm just like, we need to talk more about how crazy he is because he has to
There
know
you
that
go.
he's doing that for a second
Yes.
time. It's the
Yes.
same exact setup, right?
Yes.
I mean, granted, actually, now so people don't come for us, it was Gavin who brought it up.
Yeah, that's fair.
But Kyle's still going and telling people
Yeah, you
in that
never know if
environment
Kyle.
before
Yeah.
having told Amanda. And that's the part that is so bizarre. And I will say I felt for Amanda in that moment when she said, because she is forced into this position of having to be so diplomatic. And when she was like, I understand that you guys are happy, but for me, it's a very, it's like, yeah, maybe shut up because none of them can really understand what it's like to be on the receiving end of finding out. Like when Amanda said, "Oh, so he's literally planning his life without me."
Hmm.
That was the
Hmm.
part where it made me think like maybe she really was trying to save the marriage,
Yeah,
you know?
I know.
So, I don't know. And this is
I
where
know. I
again,
wonder. I wonder if it's like, okay. I do wonder if it's like Kyle was the biggest man that she ever had met. He did have years on her. There was an influence, right? Like as
yeah,
far as him even having the show. And then that type of guy is choosing you and he's choosing you and he's choosing you. And even though he's cheating on you, he's coming back to you and he's saying, I don't want to cheat on you. This is like stuff I'm working through. My mom was a cheater. I don't know if you remember that, but his mom used to talk about cheating on his dad all the time in like
yeah.
season one. So, I think maybe it is that 4 years ago he just stopped choosing her and she felt that switch so hard. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I just think that like I never really saw Amanda going back to what we talked about weeks ago of the cheating thing. I never really saw Amanda like fight for clarity around that. And that's why I still have the issue around the cheating
Yeah.
thing. That it's like it did kind of feel as though they had some sort of arrangement because when it came up, it was always just like, not another one. It wasn't like,
But to that point, I like, okay, for that, I would just say, I bet they did have conversations and she just didn't want it to be public. Who would want everyone to know the details of your forgiveness?
yeah.
I mean that's the thing. Like
Because then you start to look like a clown, right?
well, even Lindsay saying like we just don't bring it up. That's why like they are really friends. And so at the end of the
Yeah.
day, they
Yeah.
have a couple that they are
Yeah.
friends with where there is infidelity, but they are both
Yeah.
choosing to keep the relationship moving forward. The kind and respectful thing to do is to respect the fact that they're not going to talk about it. And so if they're not
Honest though,
talking about
that's
it,
so
why are
fucked
you
up.
talking about it, right? But I'm sure there's no way that Amanda and Kyle had not addressed and moved past in some way the fact that he was cheating.
I think so. I think
Of
so. I
course,
think
they
that
had to. She just didn't want to like expose that to the world. Who would? Like, hey, everyone, I know you've been like, really wondering about this, but
I know
here's
because
all
it's
the
like
times I've forgiven him. Here's what happened in return for that forgiveness. Like, no, ew, gross. I wouldn't want anyone to know that, you
to
know?
that point, I will say when Sheena Shea came out with her little memoir a couple of weeks before, she let loose that Brock had cheated on her while she was pregnant with Summer Moon. And I think that she thought that that was going to blast her memoir to the top,
Yeah.
make it really and it did the exact opposite where everyone had like no sympathy for her at all. Everyone was like, boo. And you're still married to him? Gross. So yeah, I think even Amanda has probably seen that play out and it's like she knows, unfortunately, there's just going to be a bunch of people. And she did touch on that in Summer House, right? She did say it's hard to know sometimes what is the internet talking and what is real.
Yeah.
I mean, I could only imagine when page six is watching your every move.
Yeah. I think then the lines start to get obviously blurred, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I think the other thing I thought was like really fascinating about this episode, to my point about like there's multiple things going on, but also I think just like kind of exploring, I would say, friendships in a deeper way than we normally get to is like everything happening between Lindsay and Yvonne, I find super, super fascinating
What
for
do you
like
think about that?
a number of reasons. I think like one, what's interesting and kind of refreshing about it, and Yvonne actually said it straight out on the episode this week, is like they are going through a change in their relationship because Lindsay's become a mom.
Hmm.
And that is something that it is a tough transition, I think, on both sides, right? Like you kind of wake up and your life is completely different, and now your friend's life is completely different, you know?
Totally.
And I thought it was interesting that she has awareness about that, obviously, right? But I also think that they are missing each other because of that too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, it's also interesting that Whitney's kind of inserting herself in some of the Lindsay stuff too. I was fascinated by that. I actually did not think Whitney had it in her to be like, I'm gonna start up with Lindsay. And I also find that situation very interesting. I feel torn in whose side I'm on. Because on the one hand, I think that like Lindsay came off kind of terrible in that whole like room situation with her and Georgina. Like that was not a good look. Okay. But at the same time, like Whitney does come off a little naive, a little immature, a little like lacking in life experience that she's getting so caught up on the fact that they're bringing it up all of the time. Like,
Totally.
I think
Totally.
it's a little bit like you're not in that position. You don't know what you would be saying if you were. And based off of everything we know about you, Whitney, you seem like the type of woman that would also be complaining about your child. So, I mean, that's what makes it hard too. I'm like, if we fast forward 10 years,
Thank
I
you.
think you're going to be doing the exact same shit, girlfriend.
Oh,
So let's just
oh,
cool
yes.
it a little bit,
And
maybe.
Whitney will act like she's the first person who's ever given birth before. Are
Oh
you
my
kidding
God, there's
me?
going to be like a whole, yeah, she's going to be one of
Oh,
those really obnoxious mothers for sure.
yes. Her
Way
birth
more
story is
obnoxious
going to
than
be
Lindsay is.
way more complicated, way more. Oh my God, totally. I completely agree with that. I think it's tough. It makes me think of what Ashley said on the Real Housewives of Rhode Island reunion about Rosie and
Yeah.
about when she when Ashley started to cry for the 14th time, talking about how Rosie just seamlessly fits in her life, doesn't try to. And I think that honestly, that's just Yvonne is going to have to figure out, is Yvonne pregnant though? No, it's the other one that's pregnant. Georgina? Georgina?
No, Yvonne is pregnant. Both of
Okay.
the couples that were trying to get pregnant got pregnant.
Got pregnant. Okay. And then,
Outside of, did Andrea and what's her face get pregnant though?
yeah.
Then they all did. Because
Yeah.
Danielle already gave birth to her baby.
Yeah. Lexi, right? Is that
Yeah.
her name? Lexi is carrying like carrying beautifully, by the way. She looks
I think
great.
so.
Who's shocked, by the way? We all thought that was going to happen. They're going to have the most gorgeous little baby. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I
She
can't believe
is
it.
expecting, Yvonne and Nick are expecting in
Nick.
August.
Nick. Yeah. Yeah.
They recently celebrated with a Where the Wild Things Are themed baby shower.
Oh, that's
I
cute.
actually
Love
think that
that.
hopefully her having a baby will help her and Lindsay's
That's what I'm saying.
friendship, you
That's what I'm
know?
saying. Is that she'll be on the other side of it and she'll realize that it is different. And yeah, what was more funny to me, or not more funny, but what was funny about that whole interaction was my read was when Whitney told Lexi that when they were in the room and
Oh
Lexi
yeah.
was like,
Abort, abort, abort.
felt like
Because her
I
face
felt
was
like
not
Whitney
only
even
like,
looked
you
at the
shouldn't be.
producers like,
I
shit.
was dead because her face was both communicating, you shouldn't be saying this, and also, are you so stupid as to think that I am not going to immediately go and tell Lindsay that you said this? Like, you could see that, like, that was almost more of the shock on her face where she was like processing it and thinking, like, you know, I'm going to tell Lindsay this, right? Like, why, why are you sharing this right now?
Did like to see that. I was like, yeah, that makes sense because really there should be an outside loyalty between Lindsay and Andrea because they did the summer house together. So there has to be a
Oh, yeah.
Lexi, she knows that.
Well, look, we talk about Lindsay all the time. We talk about how we are mixed on her, go back and forth. I think we like her. I'm not trying to speak for you, but for me, it's like I like her, but I also see her flaws.
No, totally.
I
Yeah, I
I
agree with
think that
this.
like when it comes to this type of stuff, that's where and it already came up with the whole minion thing, right? But look, we do sort of have to just acknowledge that like it doesn't have to necessarily be derogatory towards Lindsay that she controls the group because she does. Like
Yeah.
I think Kenny and them want to make that into a negative thing, but like that's usually the case with a lot of female friendship
There's
groups. There's
always a
always a
ringleader.
queen bee. There's always kind of like
There
and maybe there's
is.
different ones in different ways. Like maybe someone is more of the like, okay, I'm making the plans and dragging everyone out, and then someone else sets the tone for like what you all are talking about. But like, come on, like there's always
Yes.
gonna be more dominant personalities, And I think that like clearly, yes, these are Lindsay's friends. She is the more dominant personality out of all of these women, probably outside of Yvonne, and that's why they butt heads, right?
Absolutely.
So it's just
Absolutely.
like, I don't know. That's why like men need to stay out of women's business, though.
I
Like
completely
Kenny's
agree.
trying to like, oh, unpack that, like that makes Lindsay a bitch. It's like these women want a leader. Okay? Some women are just followers.
Has anyone seen the movie Mean Girls or
Like,
any
come
movie there
on.
before or after made?
Not everyone wants to, I mean, I can't relate, but
I know. See, that's the thing too.
I've never been a follower, so I don't
I
really
don't know.
understand. But I know, no shame. Some of y'all just want someone else to tell you what you're doing. I get it. It's fine.
I agree. If I personally am not holding the gavel, I'm a little not content, but for others,
Where
that's
would
the
Beyonce be without her soldiers, Michelle and Kelly? Okay?
have you ever
Like,
seen that? Have you ever seen that clip of Kelly sitting next to some guy? They're like outside and he starts singing like, I don't know much about algebra, but and Kelly goes, No, 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 it's algebra. It's she didn't say none of that R in that. We love her, but it was algebra. And we both I'm like, oh my God, I love Kelly so fucking much. I fucking love her. Okay. Anyway.
yeah. So I think that like hopefully things will rebalance between Lindsay and Yvonne. One thing that I thought was really funny that like kept getting jabbed at that I almost wish would have been a larger discussion, but like I also was mixed on the wedding thing because, like, on the one hand, it's incredibly rude and all of that. On the other hand, it was so clear that all of them were so annoyed with the fact, anyways, that they were having to celebrate Yvonne and Nick again. Like, that was the part that, as they started to unpack what happened, it became very clear that part of the problem is none of them gave a shit about this event. I think that that to me was the part that was so real in terms of like, okay, they're all actually really friends because that's the exact type of stuff that happens with real friend groups where you're just like, what are we like? You already got married. I already did this. Why am I having to do this again? And like, that's where I did kind of side with Lindsay a bit of like, she tried, but she's also like, I've done this already. I've celebrated you
Absolutely.
guys. Like, you've had your moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like this
I
is
can't
just another
tell
Friday night
you.
for me. I know that we're here and there's a reason we're here, but like, it is just another Friday, guys. Sorry.
I get served so many TikToks of like front to camera, 26-year-old crying. I just feel like no one in my life cares about my wedding the way I thought they would. And it's like, exactly, like that's the reality. Do you know who cares about your wedding? You and your parents. Maybe, if you're lucky.
I mean, Yvonne should be happy that she is able to organize another wedding celebration 2 years out and that people are coming and like participate. I mean, she does. I feel like in a lot of the moments where she was like talking about it, she does come off a little like, yeah, immature, a little like, you know, the
No one
world is not
cares.
centered around you. Like,
It
you guys are like more than adults.
That's the thing too.
Like,
I
let's
okay,
reset
wait.
here. We're talking about late 30, early 40 year
That
olds.
is, I will say, and I did say 26-year-olds. So for those 26-year-olds, your family is fucked up if they don't care. So I will say that. But to your point, I also think you have to be realistic that once you reach a certain, not even maybe a certain age, maybe even like wedding number two, or someone that you've been dating a long time and you both are now older, right? I don't know the Yvonne and Nick of it, but I mean, she drug him to the altar and now she's dragging him to this baby. So I also think too, like people's tolerance goes down the more they know about your personal relationship.
Oh,
If they
totally.
really buy into a love story, they're going to be more into the wedding. And
Yeah.
that's also, I think, sometimes what people feel is like if you're feeling like no one cares, it might also be because of the Kyle and Amanda of it all, right?
Well, yeah, no, and I'm like, and exactly to your point about like Nick and Yvonne, like, yeah, up until that wedding, she had been sharing probably with those women that like I'm talking to Nick, he's not really that into the baby thing, like, yeah, and now it's like come
Exactly.
celebrate my loving union.
Exactly.
It's a little weird, but
Exactly.
I again, this is why like they give, man, they really give. I'm very invested in all of their little interpersonal dynamics. I am looking forward to seeing Whitney have to navigate I think what she thought she was doing to get a storyline. I mean, I that's really all I can
Well, here's
guess
one thing I will
at
say.
her motivation at this point.
Here's one thing I will say. She has she has hitched her wagon to a man that thinks that he can handle a Whitney and she thinks that she can handle a Kenny. And I think that that's interesting because I'm not saying that they're not going to work, but what I think Whitney is going to need to do is she's going to have to find space within her to have the ability to get in the mud. If she wants to be on season of the say she wants to be on season 5 of The City. If this is this woman's goal, I don't know what Whitney is motivated by, but like if that's her motivation, you're going to have to get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
You're going to have to ride and die with Kenny. You're going to have to be the woman at the table getting into it with Lindsay, and I don't know if she has the stomach for that. So
That's what I'm saying. Like when they showed the clip for next week and like I think they kind of confront her like what were you doing or what made you, and she goes I don't care, and I'm like girl, that's not going to
that's not
work.
a defense.
You're going to have
That
to
ain't
come up
gonna
with
work.
something better than that. Like
That's
that's
the
not.
Hannah Burner defense.
This is Bravo. We're going to need you to say more words than
Yeah.
you just don't care.
Yeah. And not caring and also just exclaiming that the whole thing is beneath you are two tactics that never work because it's
Never
like,
work.
no, 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 no. We
No.
are all here. You can't decide that this is now something you didn't want any part
We're
of.
here to embrace the conflict, okay? Like
Let's go.
you need to be ready. So I'm excited for this last episode. I think it will be highly entertaining.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
And I actually at this point am probably more excited for the next season of In the City than I would say for this Summer House season that they're currently filming, which rumor has it the new house is in Montauk.
Oh, so much better. We can go out.
Well, I guess what I'm kind of hoping for is maybe there'll be I don't know, maybe it'll be easier for them to film at
That's what
places
I'm
in
thinking.
Montauk. I would
Yeah.
hope. Maybe
Yeah.
not.
I feel like there's more seaside. There's a lot of on the ocean restaurants and stuff in the Hamptons, but they are more upscale. I feel like in Montauk, you have that same thing, but it
Yeah.
is a little bit more Gen Pop, so they might be able to film
I mean,
more.
yeah, because I historically, yeah, I think it's like all the Hamptons establishments are just like hard
They
to,
don't film.
yeah.
They don't want it. They don't want that at
Unless you're like
all.
Rachel Zoe, then you get to film.
Right.
Still
Montauk
one of
might,
the
yeah,
very
exactly.
rarefied
That's true.
Hamptons scenes that
That's
we
true
see.
too. Wait, I was
Um,
gonna say one thing. Oh, I did see on TikTok. This was really funny. Maybe it was Instagram, whatever, it doesn't matter. There's a video of Kyle and Sally from Southern Charm making out, and the girl, it was like the girl's caption was like, seen 3 nights ago out in Montauk, Sally and Kyle. First comment is Sally herself, her
oh my
verified
God.
account, being like, "This was 2 nights ago, not three."
Stop.
Like, go, Sally, go! I
They
love
need
her
to
so
chill.
much.
They
I
need
love her.
like I think it's so strange.
She's such a
I
pass
don't
around
know how I'm
gal,
gonna
and she
get
just
behind
loves
that.
it. She owns
That's
it.
like
She owns it.
um moving on to the valley.
What is going on? What's going on with Katie?
I don't even
Not
know.
Katie, Kristen. What's going on with Kristen?
I mean just so many first of all, when we first got to the final scene to Danny's party, there was part of me that said, like, yeah, this feels like it's going to end really bad, but I didn't think it was going to end as bad as Danny sitting alone talking to himself about his birthday.
As the
That was
bartenders just get slowly farther and
that was
farther.
like actually like pretty epic. There were a lot of things happening actually in this episode. Let's I'll try and start somewhat chronologically with the things I latched onto. I think first of all, fascinating conversation between Michelle and Lacey on the back of the boat. Um a lot of compassion, really, I feel like towards Michelle, and that's nice. Um I still think it's interesting that Michelle is struggling with these. I don't again,
I
I talked
agree.
about this last week. I don't fault her for struggling with these things.
Right.
It is hard watching her struggle with these things after having a whole ass relationship.
Right.
I think that's the
We're
only piece.
forgetting about what was his name?
Aaron, was that his
Aster?
name? Aaron? I thought it was Aaron.
Aaron.
If
Okay, I
she
knew it was something like that.
if she was still with Aaron right now, I don't think she would be saying any of these things that she's
I
saying.
agree.
So the only thing I can think to give Michelle an out here, because I like Michelle, is that
I like Michelle.
she never actually like closed her relationship with Jesse. Like to give her the benefit of the doubt,
Oh, like they never had closure.
she probably never did the work of actually like
100%.
before going into the thing with Aaron. And like
100%.
that I think is like likely what is
Yeah.
happening here. Otherwise, she's just trying to make up a storyline because it's just a little bit like, girl, like you had a whole other man. Like now we're sad about Jesse. You're like like you're a whole man removed from this man. And now you're like, and it's weird because here's the other thing. I can follow her like down the path of like, oh, it's hard to see an ex be, so affectionate with someone new and they weren't like that with you and all of that. Where I struggle is the amount of like emotion and turmoil she has over it almost makes it seem like she wishes that was something Jesse was currently doing towards her. And
Yeah.
that's where I'm really starting to be like, okay,
Yeah.
what's going on, Michelle? Like,
Yeah.
because it's not just you being like, oh, it's hard, it's like, it's almost like you're longing for him in some of these scenes where she's talking about it. And that's where I'm like, okay, so are we missing Jesse? Is that what's going on?
I think she is missing Jesse.
Or is she missing Lacey's creation?
No, because I don't think
Lace-
he's that different.
I think he is. I think he's definitely like,
Well, he's cooled down.
first of all, he's had absolutely no like over the top, terrible,
That's
horrible
he's
outbursts
cooled
or
down.
whatever with people this entire season. And
Yeah.
second of all, every time there is a conflict or something, he's like reasonable and
Yes.
rational.
Which shows that he can be.
But my point being, do you not just credit that with Lacey? I do. I'm sorry. I don't think that he's so evolved that he went from the things he did last season to now suddenly he's navigating all of these like conflicts expertly. Like, I've been very shocked in multiple conversations with Michelle and other people how he has come across, the words he's used. Like, he's a different man,
Well, I think
honestly.
this
And
is, but
like,
this goes back. Okay. I think this goes back to this fallacy that exists a bit where it's like, you can't change a man. Absolutely true. Like
yeah,
you can't change a woman. You can't change anyone. However, you can hold standards for yourself and you can hold boundaries. And I think that
totally.
that's the
He does
difference.
do a good job of that.
That's the difference. Lacey is holding some sort of boundary with Jesse or some sort of line with him or self-respect thing that Michelle probably didn't have. She's not as self-possessed as Lacey. I think that's clear. And
Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of their arguments looked like Michelle being like, why are you doing this? I don't get it. I don't understand. Treat me better. And instead, I think Lacey's like, treat me like that again, you're done.
yeah, yeah,
And
100%.
Jesse, I think, is just a man who, unfortunately, like a dog, right, responds better to simple commands
Totally.
than outward displays of emotion. That does not move him. And I think, Michelle, to your point about still being emotional, like last week when we were talking about them buying the gift for their daughter, right? She's emotional picking out the earrings. She's emotional standing beside, like, there's raw emotion coming
Yeah.
off of her that's just like, I don't know anything about the Dr. Dre thing, but I'm just like, I don't know. You're still in love with your husband.
Kristen is an interesting one for me. I feel like I wish Kristen would be a bit more honest about her own feelings and just stand beside them.
Yes.
Because, even at like, and then I'm thinking specifically of kind of the scene towards the end of the episode where they start to talk about the fact that Janet had texted everyone the conversation and, we're getting flashbacks and all of that, right? And it's so obvious that both Kristen and Nia are lying about what was said. Like Janet was telling the truth. Like that was what was said. And like Kristen was very obviously saying, like, hey, before we look here, why don't we look over here? And like now in this scene, trying to kind of like walk it back and make it seem like, and it's like sometimes I just wish that she would, just say it. Say it to
Just
their
own
face,
it.
Kristen. Like you used to be able to do that. And so it's weird watching her now. And like, that's where like I am giving her a pass too of like, she's a new mom and all of that. But it is funny. Like, I do think Kristen was someone who was never really conflict averse. And now we are seeing her be like incredibly conflict averse, actually.
Yeah, but you know why? Well, actually, this isn't going to make sense because there's always been conflict at home for Kristen.
Yeah. That's what I mean. No, like
She's never been with a man where conflict has been absent.
well, and then that brings me to my other point, which is I know that apparently they are happy right now, so good for them. I
Nicole.
can't stand Luke. I've completely turned on Luke. Like I was really rooting for him. He's really handling this very, very, very poorly. I think like and I definitely think it's like a maturity thing, you know, or how he was raised. I don't know. Okay. But like the fact that he went and had a conversation with Jesse about being unsure about whether or not their wedding would go through, dude, dude, like even if you thought Jesse was going to hold that, why are you talking to your guy friend about that? Like the only way it would be acceptable to be having that conversation with your guy friend is if you would already talk to Kristen about it.
When
And
the
now you're going for
when
advice. Now you're going for, but Jesse's smart because Jesse knows he hasn't told her this and goes straight to Kristen, right? But
As he
like,
should.
I just,
Kristen was right what
I'm
she
finding
said
it
on the
really
boat
hard to
though.
get behind him.
She was right what she said. If he put the ring on her finger, that means that tomorrow you're ready to go to the courthouse.
Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point?
That's crazy. Like
Otherwise,
him.
otherwise, then you think it's like a promise ring. That's how you're
That's it.
treating.
That's what I was just going to say. It's like then it is a promise ring. And I know people don't believe in promise rings, but there is something more honest about a promise ring then it's like, or I don't know, a promise token, I guess, right? That it's to say like, we want to, and let's start working towards that immediately.
I
And then
also
once the
think
ring
like
comes, we're going to jump on it.
I think his immaturity is showing in the fact that it's a conversation anyways, right? And I think it is really revealing of like a mindset that men have that I just don't understand, where he's so hopped up on like, you know, well, he didn't let her know, but now letting people know that like, hey, I might not be ready for this marriage still. Dude, you have a baby with her.
But I mean,
Who
it's
cares
it's
about this wedding at
insane.
this point? What are we
It's
even
insane. That's
talking
what I
about?
mean.
You are talking about it as if like you still have this out of like you
Ah,
still don't have to do this wedding. So,
you're
that's
connected to
something for
her.
you to really consider. Like as if you can still walk away. Dude, you can't walk away. You have a child with this woman. Like what? I don't even know. The things he's saying are not even making sense. The fact that he's having a conversation with Jesse in the first place to be like, yeah, so it's got me thinking I may pull back from the wedding, as if that's like a lever that he has to pull. Like that, like he thinks that's like an escape route in this situation. Dude, there ain't no escape. There is no escape. You could marry her, you cannot marry her. It doesn't matter. Kristen is in your life for the rest of your life.
I saw a TikTok the other day that would make you giggle. It was a woman. She's probably 60 years old. She's getting back in her car, okay? She says to the camera, she's like, "Well, just dropped my grandbabies off at my baby daddy's house because her grandbabies, that's their grandfather."
Yeah.
She's still doing co-parenting. She's 65 years old, still co-parenting, but now she's co-parenting the grandbabies with the so it's like I was like, "Oh my God.
It never ends.
It never ends. It never ends." He's acting like he's got this one figured out if he doesn't marry her.
It's bizarre. It's just bizarre. So
I don't get it.
I am feeling for Kristen because I think she's dealing with a lot and then also not handling her friendships very well. I think that like, you know, I'm repeating myself and this is where again we'll see what happens at the reunion, but I think we all have been done a disservice watching The Valley and we're still sort of heading towards the same path of concluding in the same place of like there is something that is not being made clear enough about the Danny and the Nia situation. And Kristen being on their side is what is making it confusing.
Yeah.
Because when you start to say things like, well, what about Brittany's drinking? And what about, like Zach's drinking? And what about whatever? We as the viewer can understand that point because we do watch the show and we see how much they all drink. So in some ways, when you're hearing Kristen say that, there is validity in that statement of like, hey, we are so focused on Danny as someone who like drinks, right? What about these other people who drink too? Okay. And it's kind of like led us down this false path. I do think that where we got just a little bit of uh clarity and where I wish Nia wouldn't have did what she did in that moment
Mm.
was Danny's conversation with Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like we were finally getting somewhere where Michelle, like Danny doing what he always does, trying to be defensive and deflect, says, well, you were married to Jesse. Jesse's a big drinker. What's the problem? And Michelle's like, yeah, I was married to Jesse. He is a big drinker. He does like to party. He's never made anyone feel uncomfortable. Like that is the crux of it. And I feel like for some reason we keep having to like watch them all talk around all of that. And if we could just like nail down that point and then move on from it, like we would be in a better place. And instead we're going in circles. So like kudos to Michelle for trying to like tease that out and stand her ground a bit to say like, no, Danny, it's not because your name is Danny, right? That's what she said. She's like, it's because when you drink, you make people feel weird. Stop making people feel weird, and we won't care about when you drink.
And that's why, to me, I think it's really messed up the comparison that Kristen is trying to draw. Because that's Brittany's drinking is hurting Brittany, not the group.
Or Zach. Is Brittany making other men in the group feel uncomfortable? No. Is Zach doing things? No. They are their own worst enemy.
And she doesn't get fall down drunk on camera. Brittany
No.
doesn't. Brittany drinks a lot, but Brittany doesn't. If she does, it's usually like honestly, the times that happened was I think more because she was just genuinely sick. We found out she actually wasn't drinking and she was just really sick. So it's like even that what Kristen is trying to do is expose what I think is a more deeper problem with Brittany. And to do that, to bring up her potential abuse of alcohol as a comparison to someone who is making women in this group feel uncomfortable in every interaction. I'm like, Kristen, that's ugly. Like, I do think that's ugly to someone who's been like basically your ride or die. I mean, Brittany
100%.
has rode for Kristen.
And again, the reason now that like it is just starting to get so confusing as a viewer is like I am never gonna like Janet. It's not gonna happen. Nothing
Not
will
until
change
she
the fact
washes
that
her hair.
I don't like her. But even this last episode, it's like we're turning this tide where like I don't know about you, but I'm starting to feel sympathetic towards Janet. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
what the hell is happening? And
Yeah.
I feel like I've wasted a year of my life feeling like Janet was the problem here.
Right.
And now
Right.
I'm like, is she? Was
Yeah.
she? Like,
The treatment of
what?
Janet by Kristen to me was, I didn't like that. I didn't,
And as Janet has been more vocal about like the context behind why she's behaved the way she is, every single woman can relate to what Janet is saying.
absolutely.
Every single
Absolutely.
woman has known a Danny, someone who you're like not fully afraid is going to do something, but you're also like,
Could
spidey
it
senses
become a
go up. You're like,
problem?
something in my body is telling me not to be around this man by myself, or, certain settings I want to avoid. Like, I get it. I wish she would have just like, and this is like, it's awful because it's basically just a big, another example of like, we don't believe women. And now
Yeah,
I'm
on
complicit in
screen.
that for not believing Janet. But like, God, I really wish Janet could have just said all of this stuff like a year ago.
Yeah,
It would have
absolutely.
helped.
Yeah.
Even if she wasn't ready to share her specific story, I just I don't know. I think she could have provided some more context that could have like literally changed the entire trajectory of how this has gone.
It's crazy to say bring more gravity to the situation because there already should be so much of that given the fact that we're talking about sexual assault. You know what I mean? Like, but yes, I think it would have really kind of grounded it a bit more for everyone and given people a little bit more of an idea of like why this is so important to nip in the bud and how it could snowball if left unaddressed, right? Like
Totally.
even to the point that like you could see most likely, like all things said, most likely the way that this will all play out if they continue to employ Danny and Nia is that we're going to see Danny do something to Nia. That's
Yes.
really what it's going to be,
I feel like
which
that's
is
what we're like on the border of right now,
right,
right? Like
right,
he like it's
right.
already starting to feel a little bit like what is going on like
Uh-huh.
behind closed doors.
Uh-huh. We're going to see an arm grab, allegedly,
Yeah.
maybe. We're going to see something that's like, oh, remember, remember on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Denise's husband when he was squeezing her
Yes.
hand.
Yes. And we all should have taken a page on that. One thing I do want to call out, because we haven't talked about it as much, is like, even though I think that you're 100% right, like, we're going to see more stuff happen with Danny and Nia. It's dark, it's getting really dark. I also really, though, did not enjoy Lala this episode
No.
at all.
Nope.
Like, I don't know why. This is where I feel like, and it goes back to when we talked about this at the very beginning or before the season started airing, where we were sort of questioning why Lala and Tom are even like on this cast. Like,
Why
by
do I
their
kind of like Tom? But go on.
I do like Tom. I actually think Tom should continue to
Whoops.
be part of the cast. Oh my God, when he walked up to Nia and Danny and Nia goes, "Not now," and Tom turned away, I was dead. I was like, yeah, dude. He knows. Get the F out of there. I
He's
think
good.
the problem with Lala is that Tom is just showing up and being himself, and that works in the way that it has always worked for him, okay? Lala is someone that has had to self-produce in order to become successful on Bravo, okay?
Mhm.
Like she definitely came into Vanderpump and had to carve her place in that group, and I think because she is a very smart woman. I think she learned very quickly,
And she's
here's the
gorgeous.
things I need to start doing, to make sure that I'm staying in the storylines, to make sure that I'm staying at the forefront, to stay on the show.
Yeah,
And now here she is on the Valley. She probably needs the money, let's be real. And I
of
think she's
course.
also very aware of the fact that like she has to create relevancy for herself on this show.
Yeah.
But that is also very apparent to us as viewers,
I
okay?
know. I
And
know,
like in
Laura.
this week's episode, it's just like, Lala, you really don't have a dog in this fight. Like,
Not at
who
all.
cares? Like, it's also just weird too. And like, I understand why she gets triggered by this, but this is also why I hate watching it so much. Like, Lala has chosen different life's path. She doesn't like men. She's been burned by men. She wants to stay away from men because she's so burned by them. Like, she has so much trauma about not having created a nuclear family, about the path that she's chosen for her children and all of that, that like I
The
don't even
death of
think
her father.
it matters what Danny and Nia are doing. I think she's going to be triggered by traditional successful relationships anyways.
Mhm.
And so is she right about what she's observing about Danny and Nia? Sure. But does she ultimately just come off looking jealous is the wrong word
I
because
know what you
no
mean.
one would
No,
be
I know what you
jealous of
mean.
Danny and Nia, but it's just like it's just not a good look to be this single woman who's like trying to get in between this marriage. Like
Right.
they don't care about you. Like
No.
they have a whole world, a whole family
Kids,
unit, kids that like
routine.
that they are dealing with that you don't even know, like you know next to nothing about. And like sometimes I just think like Lala needs to sit down. When she gets into pitbull mode, she is the most unwatchable of all of them.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with everything that you just said. We need to find her, honestly, and I don't say this to mean that her only storyline could be a man, because everything that you just said is true. But unfortunately, I do think Lala needs some sort of relationship in
Or
order
something.
for this to, and it can't be like a gay bestie. Like she needs,
She needs an anchor
an anchor.
in this cast and like it's just not there
It's
or
not.
at the very least she got to the end of this season because I think we must be getting close to the end, right? And she's
Uh-huh.
she's kind of like grasping at straws now. She's
Yeah.
like, oh
She's
well, if
realizing,
I can stay on this Nanny and Nia thing, that's gonna get me airtime on this episode. That's how
right.
it feels. Like
Oh,
it's just like
totally.
leave them like there was one point where she was literally chasing Danny down. Like just back off.
Back
Like
off. It has nothing to do with
kind of
you.
weird.
I
Very
also
weird.
do think, sorry, not to like dwell on what you just said, but I do think what you just said is really important to note because let's say this, so many TikTok comments. Well, do you even know them? No, we don't even know them. No,
None of us do.
it's reality television, you guys. Calm down. But to your point, it also is important to know this in your own life, right? Like rhinestoners and everyone. I think there are things we can apply from Bravo to our own lives, and this is the nuance, right? That it's like remember this with any relationship that you have. You don't know. You don't know what brings these two people together. You don't know the promises they've made. You don't know the conditions of. You have no idea. And until you have an idea, it's very hard to understand why people move certain ways. It just is.
100%. I mean, I obviously don't think this is the case, but like we could be watching these scenes and Danny and Nia might already have an agreement about a separation that's coming. And Nia's
100%. She
just
might
like
say, give me
trying to
another
hold
season.
him to the deal or to whatever it is that they agreed
There you
upon in
go.
terms of how that's going to play out. I mean,
There you go.
I agree with you. It's just and it's very strange. So yeah, Lala, I'm open to her staying on the cast. I think she just needs to reorient herself in it and this whole posture she's had of like, whoa, well, I'm observing and calling things out. It's like, well, no one really asked for you to do that. Like,
Yeah.
I would have rather you just tried to integrate yourself versus being like, I'm gonna come and like give my opinions on all of these different dynamics. And it's like, I don't need your opinion on all of that. I've been
So
here longer than you since I've been watching the show before you were on it.
when we say we just know what formula works and what formula doesn't, we know
Yes.
you can't trick a Bravo viewer into thinking that a show is interesting. We know. We've
No,
been
and you can't just like add someone that we also know to this
and
new
think
cast and then think that like we're just gonna be like, oh, okay, cool,
that's
like
not
no
how
big
it
deal. It's like,
works.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I am very curious to see where next week picks up because I mean, yeah, Danny's just solo at the bar right now. Just left him there on his own. So we'll have to see how this Mexico trip wraps up. But interesting stuff.
Danny should smoke weed and give up the booze. And I'm sure he'd be right where he wants to
I
be.
I doubt Nia would approve of that.
I know that's the thing. These people are so, they don't even know. It's like you
I
should
don't
just slow down on that. Anyway, okay.
I don't think it's gonna
Well,
happen.
another fun one, sis.
Yes, this was another episode. Thanks, Rhinestoners.
We love you,
Love you
Rhinestoners.
guys. Have a
See
great
you next week.
weekend. Finale of In the City. Let's go.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
next
I'm
week will be a
excited.
big one. We'll
I'm
we'll
excited.
definitely dedicate some time to
And
it.
maybe there will be some actual like celebrity news stuff that happened. It was a slow week. It's the
Yeah,
summer.
it's the summer. People are
It's the
busy.
summer.
We'll dig up some fun stuff. See
We'll
you
find
next
out.
week.
Bye, Rhinestoners.
Bye.